Hello, everyone, and welcome to C-SHIP fifth free webinar series edition. Thank you for joining us today to explore the topic of the role of intermediaries in bridging the gap between creatives and the business world. This webinar is organized by C-SHIP and powered by the Creative Pact for Skills. Before we start, I would like to dedicate a quick moment for housekeeping. Please keep your microphone muted during the presentations, and you are welcome to use the chat box throughout the webinar. The webinar will be recorded, so please feel free to keep your camera on or off. The last 20 minutes is dedicated to a Q&A session. If you wish to interact with the speakers during this slot, please raise your hand and unmute yourself. In the next 5 minutes, I'll briefly present C-SHIP and introduce our three bright speakers. So I'll be sharing my screen now. Okay. So C-SHIP is an action learning training and awareness raising program which is focused on cultural entrepreneurship. It's designed for professionals in the creative, in the cultural and creative industries and aspirants. It addresses actually 5 specific sectors, which are visual and performing arts, cultural heritage professionals, design, film and audiovisual production, cultural institutions, and museums. The training is designed to guide CCI's professionals and/or aspirants towards starting an entrepreneurial journey, ensure the financial viability of their projects, develop or strengthen their management skills for sustainable, thriving, and resilient project while maximizing their societal contributions and positive impacts. Under the framework of the Creative Pact for Skills and specifically the Working Group on Entrepreneurial Skills, this year we have identified five topics on which the webinars series was revolving around, which are culture and creative sectors competitiveness versus ecosystem partnerships, CCIs as drivers of entrepreneurship, innovation, and creativity, gendered perspectives, creatives juggling between business and family life balance. And today we will be speaking about the role of intermediaries in bridging the gap between creatives and the business world. I would like now to present briefly our three speakers. Our first speaker today will be Koen Snoeckx, who is the owner and director of Arteconomy since 2022. Arteconomy was founded in 2002 as a pioneer in transformative collaborations between artists and public and private organizations. Koen himself has over 15 years of experience in cross-innovation projects from his roles at High-Tech Research and Development Center Post, or as director at the cultural nonprofit Baltan Laboratories. Currently, he has also worked as freelance innovation manager at Innovative Campus Guild, where he activates and animates the innovation ecosystem. While in 2019, as a way to give back to society, he founded a creative hub called Moktami in his hometown, Herntals. Koen holds a master's in biochemistry with a postmaster's in journalism and a teacher degree. Welcome, Koen. Our second speaker today is Anastasia Lemberg-Lvova. She's an artist and the founder of the Structura, a contemporary art platform supporting emerging art professionals and advancing art-based cross-innovation in Europe. She is passionate about advocacy for the culture sector, focuses on bridging the gap between the arts and other fields through creative dialogue and interdisciplinary collaboration. She is also a member of the executive committee of the Reset Network, where she contributes to improving the status quo of cultural sector structures in Europe. Her work emphasizes the transformative potential of art in shaping more innovative societies. Welcome, Anastasia. Our third speaker today will be Théo Majcher, who's an actor, performer, theater director, and jazz singer. In 2019, he co-founded Alter Ego X in Annecy and Paris, where he leads the European division focusing on European cooperation projects, advocacy through European events, and training in funding strategies and international development. His research focuses on exploring European identity in the arts and culture sector with a particular emphasis on the role of European cultural networks. Théo is trained in theater and music at several conservatories, Annecy, Clermont-Ferrand, and Paris, and he holds a master's degree in cultural policies and management in Europe from the Institute of European Studies at Paris University and a diploma in radio and TV hosting from the Institut National de l'Audiovisuel in Paris. So I would like to welcome you all and welcome our three speakers. And without further ado, I would like to give you the floor, Koen, to explain a bit to us why and what can business leaders truly learn from the artists. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ruba, for having me in this session, and welcome everyone, live or later online in the recording. Let me just get started. I hope you can see my screen. Is that correct? Yeah, okay, good. So this is Peter de Kuppere. He's a Belgian artist, and he works a lot, as you can see, with odors and smells. And this is, for example, one artwork in one of his series, where the painting itself is just a homogeneous color, but it gets activated when you rub on it, and then it releases a smell, and then it gives you the experience of being immersed in the world behind this artwork, in this case, the remembrance of World War II. Now, in 2012, in the framework of Turnout Cultural Capital, Arteconomy brought together Peter de Kuppere with Carta Mundi. Carta Mundi is the world leader in playing cards and card games. They are headquartered in Turnout. And in this framework, they were brought together and they created this artwork, which was called the Smelling iPad. And the artwork basically consists of two elements. One element is a set of cards, and each of these cards has a hypothetical plant species on it. And when you rub the card, it releases a smell. The other part of the artwork is an app, in this case on an iPad. And when you place one of the cards on the app, then it will recognize the smell. Then you place another card onto the app, and the app will recognize the smell of the other card. And from these two cards that you have selected, it will generate a new hypothetical plant species. So that was the artwork. There was no product idea behind it. There was no gamification. So there's no winning or losing. It's an artwork in itself. Now, obviously, the iPad couldn't really smell. There's a technology behind it, and it's near-field communication technology. It's now very familiar for wireless payments and everything. But in that time, in 2012, it was a new and emerging technology. Carta Mundi saw some interest in that from themselves, but failed to really get traction with their clients to use this to enhance gaming. But this artwork was created, and then Carta Mundi started to take this artwork to game fairs, just as a conversation starter, as a discussion starter at their booth. And not surprisingly, but not intentionally, a few months after the release of this artwork, they suddenly signed up big clients like Lego and Hasbro to implement this underlying near-field communication technology. And then suddenly you saw this kind of NFC-enabled games, in this case from Hasbro, coming onto the market. So this is one example where there was no intention from the start. There was just a nice project between an artist and a business. There was no predefined outcome or impact, but at least it had a big impact on the product development and sales of this company and its clients. Another important impact was that after this project, the innovation manager at Carta Mundi decided for a number of years to only hire people with an art degree for his innovation department, and this to work alongside the engineers and product designers that he already had in the team. So I think this is also a very nice and not predefined outcome and impact of this type of project. Another example, this is Thijs Royakkers. He's a Dutch artist from the Netherlands. And Thijs is a versatile artist. A lot of the time he makes rather spatial artworks. This is one example called Woensel Supertol. And it's a community-based artwork where he asked people from Woensel, a neighborhood in Eindhoven, to write slogans onto wooden planks. Then he would suspend them all throughout the neighborhood, and they would come together in one big spinning top that then brought this entire community together. The artwork was displayed on several occasions, also had a spot in the Van Abbe Museum at some point, and so on. So this is the type of works that he does. This is another work from him, and in this case it's suspended in the open space of a parking building. And at some point, a building architect approached Thijs and said, Thijs, I'm not sure if you're aware, but your artworks, they provide a solution for a very big societal problem, which is fall prevention. And this interaction with this building architect triggered Thijs to explore entrepreneurship. And amongst others, by going through an entrepreneurship support program called Design to Market in Eindhoven, he at this moment also has a company called Life Saving Art, where this exact same object can exist in two parallel universes, in one universe as a work of art, and in the other universe as a product that can be sold with a functional purpose in mind. With that difference that the traditional way of dealing with this relevant problem is that you build safety nets and fences, and they are very functional, but they don't, they don't prevent these people from having these negative thoughts in their mind. By seeing these safety nets, they're on the contrary confronted with these ideas. Whereas Thijs's product or artwork, if you want, when people would jump, they would probably fall right through it. So in that sense, it has no function. But by making the room more pleasant, they don't even think about it anymore. So it's a totally different way of approaching a same problem. And again, he never had the intention to find a solution for this. He just made very nice and relevant artworks, and at some point it crossed his path and turned into a very relevant product. So I've been embedded in the world of innovation for almost all my career, and for those of you who are a little bit familiar with it, this is sometimes a framework that they refer to. If you're not familiar with it, don't worry. It's called technology readiness levels. It was invented in the 1970s by NASA, the American Space Agency, and they used it as an objective framework to talk to their subcontractors. So for NASA, when something was in TRL 9, it meant that it was ready to go into space. And this was very important for them to know in which stage of development their subcontractors were. Now, this has been adopted by the world of innovators, and maybe not that explicitly, but also in policy. Basically, things start with an idea. You can test them out first in well-controlled conditions in the lab, for example, then in real-life conditions. It's obviously never linear. It's obviously never linear, so you move back and forth. And at the end, you implement your idea. So this is the dynamics of innovation. And at Arteconomy, we are convinced that something really important is lacking. So for Arteconomy, the world looks more like this, where on the right hand, you have this world of innovation, a little bit squeezed, not to have the full 9 steps. But we think that there's this parallel universe of art, which has more or less the same dynamics. Also, artworks start with an idea and end up somewhere, be it in a gallery, a museum, a festival, no matter where. But the ideologies are totally different. As you have seen from the 2 examples, the starting point is rarely or never to find a solution for something. And I think this is a very interesting starting point if you're looking for disruptive innovations, if you're looking for serendipity. I think there's then already these two examples, and there are many more, have shown that this is a very good combination. So at Arteconomy, this is our vision. We are convinced that if you want to stay relevant as a company or organization, you have no other option as to navigate through this wormhole into the parallel universe of art, and also absorb and internalize these processes, practices, and insights that you have there. Now, the question is why? Why should you do that? And I can give an entire list, but usually what I do in this limited amount of time is I give my number one reason on why companies should engage with the arts. And what better way to start with an artwork to explain this? So I'll quickly try to play this. Normally there's sound, but don't worry, I've kept it away. So this is an artwork from Claude Catelin, a French artist. It's called Repousser la mer, Pushing Back the Sea. It's a performance, and this one is recorded in Bristol, if I'm not mistaken. And it clearly shows the world that we currently live in. As humanity, we're facing a lot of global crisis, very literally sea levels rising, but it's also metaphorical for a lot of other political, economical, and social crises that we're faced with. And let's be honest, and if you watch the full performance, you can also see it. We're not doing a really good job in solving these. And there's a lot of reasons why, but one of the main reasons for me is the way that we innovate. And our traditional way of innovating is that we tend to take action, then observe the results, assess whether or not they are effective enough, and then we go back to redefining our actions. So this is one thing. And then since a number of years, we do this within a very known sustainability framework, which I think a lot of you know, which are the Sustainable Development Goals. I think they're really good because they've democratized sustainability. So they have embedded it in the heads and minds and strategies of a lot of people and boardrooms and policymakers, also people in the streets. And also they have taken the sustainability narrative out of the narrow definition of ecological sustainability. So that's really good. But there's also something really problematic with the way that we deal with them. And that is shown by this graph. And looks like a complicated graph. It's not that difficult. So basically every circle in this graph is a country around the world. And what you see, it's taken from the WWF Living Planet report in 2006. So the data itself is outdated, but the dynamics behind it are still very relevant. And what you see on the horizontal axis is that the more countries move to the right, the higher their human development index. So the higher their score on sustainable development goals, such as gender equality, good education, and so on. But then on the vertical axis, the higher you score, the higher your ecological footprint. So it means the worse you score on ecological sustainable development goals. And there's almost an automatical relation that the more countries move to the right, they automatically seem to move up the chart. And this is, well, according to me, and not just me, has a lot to do with our very, let's say, limited way of learning and looking at innovation that I just showed. Now, what should we do instead, or what could we do instead, is rather than having this limited way of learning, look at our actions and results, take one step back and also reassess our values. Really look at the reasons why we innovate, why we define certain actions. A lot of the frameworks that we work in are social constructs that we created ourselves. They're not laws of nature that we cannot change. And not surprisingly, and then we move back to the art world, quite a bit of artists are really good at that, at challenging the status quo and redefining the values. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this artwork. It's attributed to Marcel Duchamp, beginning of the 20th century. It started the movement of ready-mades. And basically what he did, he walked into a hardware store, bought a toilet, flipped it upside down, and signed it with an artist's name, and then submitted it for an exhibition. Now, is this art? I don't know. I don't think my opinion really matters. But what it did do is it completely disrupted the art world 100 years ago. Was an inspiration for a lot of contemporary art movements. And up until today, so for over 100 years, it has kept people reflecting on the true definition of art and the values of art and the actions that we take in this art world. So I think this is, for me, the important role of what artists and businesses can learn from each other, or what businesses can learn from art. And I'm going to skip 2 slides because so it's unlearning. So rather than learning and doing this action result type of thing, unlearning and really assessing the values and the paradigms that we work in. Now the question is, how do you do that? 2 years ago, Julie van den Broeke, founder of Arteconomy, she wrote a book. Unfortunately, it's only available in Dutch, but for the Dutch-speaking people amongst us, it's still available, called Innovating with Artists. And from ourselves, I would kindly refer to our website, where you can have an overview of the lectures, the workshops that we give. And for the people who have a bit of patience, by the end of this year, we will, together with Structura, with Anastasia, who will also be in this webinar later on, we will publish an open source toolkit where you can find a lot of our expertise and insights on how to navigate this world of cross innovation. So that was my 15 minutes. I thank you for your attention and happy to take any questions at the end.
Wow, thank you very much, Koen, for this mind-blowing presentation. You actually walked us through the positive externalities of art and how it contributes not only to creating magnificent work of arts, but also creating products which contribute also to the well-being of people and to territories. You also mentioned the importance of reframing our understanding of what innovation is and how actually artistic innovation can contribute to reframing values and creating new values and new imaginaries. So, in connection to that, Anastasia, and knowing that you also work a lot on cross-border innovations and the role of intermediaries, what Koen was explaining is fascinating and very impactful. But I'm sure you can tell us and discuss a lot also about what kind of challenges and opportunities when facilitating art-based cross-innovation happen, and how intermediaries can actually unlock the new pathways for sustainable partnerships between cultural professionals and the business world. So, Anastasia, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My chat is going to be far less formal, and will mostly be based on two things that I thought would be interesting to share, in particular with people who are on the other side from Koen, so the artists and people from the culture sector who are curious about art-based cross-innovation. Yes, forgive me, I am still getting over a cold that seems to have hit the whole European continent, so I will be either coughing or slightly speaking into my nose. So without further ado, the setup is that I really wanted to share some slightly less formal tips and takeaways from my experience doing the recent cross-innovation project of the Structura with the European Parliament in Estonia. And also talking about my experience of taking part in forums, conferences, and events that are very foreign to artists, meaning where I am the foreign object and everybody else either works in business, politics, or the nonprofit sector, but nothing related to the arts. So the general takeaways and the general learnings that I wanted to begin with are the following. People who do not have either a personal connection or some background in the arts, they really do not understand what you're on about. If you come from the culture sector and if you start explaining all of the wonderful things and the benefits that can be derived from implementing art-based innovation and art thinking and art methodologies in other sectors, um, this is coming from a space that is too different from the space where other sectors operate. And there's a void between. So the first thing you come across is that the void is there, and people, you are very passionately and sincerely trying to explain the benefits of what you're explaining, the benefits of what you're proposing, um, will have a difficult time crossing that void. This is something that I have always experienced when trying to bridge these sectors, different sectors. Then, as I started as an artist, as a person who does work in the culture sector, also for context, I was in the European Youth Parliament for 10 years. I studied financial engineering in Belgium. I have also studied at the Eindhoven Design Academy. So I myself have a very mixed background. This is why I can see the bridges between these sectors, and I am very dedicated to also showing them to others. And then, as this dedication occurred, my question was, where do I start with these connections? Where do I actually find people who would be either interested already or I would be able to convince? And because of the format of my education, I quickly realized that this would be all sorts of forums, conferences, meetings that ideally are not specifically for your sector, because if it's just for your sector, it is a bubble. And the events that try to bring together different sectors, this is a good playground for trying to create connections between different people, including art professionals and culture professionals. What I also see from how cross-innovation is being pursued at the moment is that there is no clear, tangible definition to what an art and culture actually mean, which is a blessing and a curse, because it does open the door for a lot of creative interpretation of what you actually can present as an art intervention. Um, that's usually the flexibility that you need to create these relationships. But then on the other hand, so the curse part is that because of this definition of art, culture, and creativity being in one melting pot, the confusion is real. And it's just by being so broad and so undefined, it also takes away from the actual value and benefit that these areas can provide. Again, what I learned is that convincing and creative convincing, working on your feet and really trying to understand who you're talking to is an essential skill. And personal connections matter, as in any endeavor. This just is true, I guess, for whatever pursuit we are discussing. Now, a bit more concretely, the two projects, the two kind of lanes that I wanted to discuss. One is You Decide, the project we did together with the European Parliament in Estonia. It was in the run-up to the elections, and we built an installation that had a screen telling young people how much time was left before the elections. And there was also an augmented reality exhibition next to it. The installation itself was made out of recycled plastic we got out of Ukraine. There were lots of different elements that were coming together. And initially, it was kind of our art proposal to the European Parliament. And in that sense, the proposal changed a lot. So this is how it started. We had a very creative bigger idea of an exhibition, an installation that would focus on the achievements of the Parliament or of the European Union in general in our region. And we would be able to show certain projects that had been either funded or done in Estonia with the help of the European Union. We wanted to use augmented reality as an artistic means of showing this specifically to a younger audience, because this is who we were targeting. There were at least 4 iterations of us really coming up with something from the art sector, really out there, really new. And then as we progressed, adjusting it and toning it down to then also fit the requirements of, let's say, the client. And it is a learning process for both. The reality is that the process of our work is like on a different planet from the process of work in their world. And that's also something we had to account for when designing the finished product. And there's something we had to account for when we were also arranging, coordinating, and communicating the project. Main takeaway is really that the worlds we are operating in are very different. They do merit coming together, and very interesting things come out of it. But you do have to understand that differences need to be discussed and taken into account when moving forward. Then I wanted to also present some miscellaneous quotes from certain events where I went as an art professional, and where I was talking about either the projects that we do in the Structura, or the projects that emerging artists do, the ones that we work with, or of my own exhibitions, because I am a trained painter. And I thought to bring up a couple of interesting pearls from these conversations. I was once told, after just saying that I was in the culture sector and an artist, to somebody who was in mathematics and economics, that they don't mind artists existing as long as they pay for themselves. This was the first interaction I had with this person. You learn to react to these things, and you learn to continue the conversation, because again, very different worlds. And at this point, I don't take it personally. I just really understand that they don't know. This is not something that they have ever encountered in their practices. Then another situation that I wanted to also share is that I was at an event recently where I could ask a group of investors for practical advice. I took the opportunity and I explained the situation, something similar to what I just said, where I start talking to somebody at an economics forum or a political forum. And as soon as I mention that I am in the culture sector, people lose interest and go away. So my question to these investors was, what should I mention at the outset? So what is the first thing I should be saying? Do I need numbers? Do I need some sort of very concrete pitch? And the initial reaction was shock on the panel of the investors and silence. And later on, as I kind of continued explaining, and the silence was due to the fact that people don't really realize that it is very different for the culture sector as opposed to medical, healthcare, tech. This is a very so this is something people very much understand and believe that is going to be lucrative for them to work with, whereas culture is very far out from that group of activities that are well understood. And the advice that I got in the end after explaining was, well, it's not very different from any other sector. You really do have to have your numbers, and you do have to have a very clear explanation of what you're going to make and what it's going to do. And the third thing is really finding connections. In a lot of these situations, I have ended up finding very passionate people from other sectors who, once they learned what we do, were very curious and wanted to continue our chats and collaboration. So with my remaining 3 minutes, I'm going to share just a couple of tips from the event experience and the project experience. And this is more targeted at people who are really from the culture sector. It applies to everybody, but I was thinking of artists and culture professionals going to events where not only other culture professionals go. So first of all, you can study the guest list, and if it's not provided, you can ask for it. I've done it many times. Then you really understand who are the people going to this event and who you would have something to talk about with. So really know who's going to be there. Once you know who's going to be there, have like an assortment of material in your head that you can pick from once you get into the conversation. Because a rigid pitch of one thing doesn't really work. It's more as art in general, you have to improvise on the spot, and for that you have to have different ideas in your head to start with. Don't get discouraged easily. This may happen with the anecdotes I told previously. I have learned that laughing things off and continuing to explain really can take this communication to a different level. Make friends. Very recent example, being friendly with somebody actually landed us a project. I think this is as old as the world itself. It does actually help. And do keep in mind that at a lot of these events, you find clients or new projects, and all of these deals are usually done over drinks in a somewhat secluded setting. So in addition to taking part in all of discussions and bigger events, it is also a good idea to take part in smaller gatherings and really understand who you are going to be joining at those gatherings. And then the second segment, projects. My recommendation is to ask questions and be extremely clear if something seems confusing in the slightest. This has saved us from getting into muddy waters. And I'd rather ask a stupid question than really miscommunicate on some point and get into trouble. Bear in mind that your process as an art professional, a culture professional, is really from a different planet than the process of somebody working in a corporate setting. It's far more full of frameworks and set in stone than it is when you're a culture professional. Account for that, understand that, avoid misunderstandings. Expectation management is also something to keep in mind because, as Koen said, I think he did say it, that art making and art-based cross-innovation are a very open-ended process. It's not from A to B. You are going to go on a journey that may take you somewhere completely different from where you were starting. I think that was action and result in his slides. So this is something, ideally, you should be making clear from the beginning and reiterating as you continue your journey of a collaboration with somebody from a different sector. And that's it from me.
Thank you very much, Anastasia, for sharing your insights in terms of challenges, actually, and how you navigated through these challenges while mingling in these, how do you say, unusual events for the cultural sector, where you try to understand the differences of these worlds and how to take them into account while implementing your projects. You understood the importance of providing numbers, impacts, and you understand how to find your funding connections. So I will move to you now, Théo. I see you moving
I'm here.
there. Yes.
Sorry.
We're actually curious to learn a bit about what was the role of intermediaries actually in helping Alter Ego X connecting with the business world while staying committed to your socially engaged culture. Théo, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks again for the invitation. Uh, so my name is Théo Majcher. I'm the co-artistic director of how can we say, like, now it's an association creative hub, but I mean I'm not like that structured as well as Koen or like Anastasia that I know really well actually, so always like coming after them, it's like not an easy thing, but I think, and they said also or many things already actually, especially like Anastasia, what you said about like going to small gatherings and all those things we know it's like over beers that things are happening, so I would try not to repeat, but maybe it could be good just to dig into also the story of all our structure, because we did it was kind of like a big adventure, and why we are now here in a way, and what and how we arrive until here. So for what it is, so Alter Ego X is an association. Maybe you can. Oh, perfect, wonderful, thank you, Ruba. I will. Perfect. Yeah. So we're an association. We're a French-based association. We are based in the suburb of Paris, so in Bagnolet, which is like close to Paris. We're also based in the French Alps, in the mountains, in the French region named Haute-Savoie, which is at the border with Switzerland. So we work mainly on both territories, and we are like organized around three main pillars. One is dedicated to the artistic creation. One is dedicated to the training on EU fundings, because we also work on a pan-European level, and one is dedicated to advocacy. How we like arrive to here actually is like, again, a big story. Yeah, you can do that actually, Ruba, like who we are, amazing. You can have it read and everything. I don't like just like reading what is written on my slide, but I think the most important thing, so we created this association that I co-founded 6 years ago, and we started as a theater company. Only wanted to, we had this dream, like we were like the actors and actresses with Julie, my colleague, and we were like just finishing school, so drama school, and we just wanted to be on stage and create artistic creation and do shows and tour all over the world. That was a bit like the dream. But in the end, we were also always like having in mind that what was also important for us, it was more also kind of creating experiences, so artistic experiences in which we were like always involving people. So the people was really at the center thing. So and we knew already, because we also came from the production, so we have like as many speakers today, different backgrounds. We also came from like the production part, and me especially like the production of European projects. And I also knew from the beginning that I wanted to like develop those kind of like European cooperation projects. And the thing is that when we were like in touch in France, like they're a bit old school with this concept of if you have ideas, if you're young, have ideas, especially when we were like, I was 23 when I created a company, and I was going to the public bodies here in France and said, we will create like a pan-European work. And they were saying, well, who are you? Like we didn't have like any recognition, but really like, and they were saying, well, who are you? We don't know you, blah, blah, blah. So I think this is a bit how this kind of like entrepreneurial approach started with Julie. At this moment, we were like, okay, they don't want to stress us, they don't want to give it our chance, we will do it. And we will do it for like different ways. And the first thing we did is that we said, okay, we were not rich. We didn't have any money. I'm not the son of anyone like really famous in France or anything, so of rich people. I'm just the son of like two wonderful teachers, but without like a big like without a big wallet, I would say. So we didn't have like anything to start with. So we're like, okay, we need money. So what we decided to do is to apply, like we really like we work on, okay, what is existing, which resources are existing on like both in France and on a European level, and we applied to almost everything. And we also, what we did, it's like kind of interesting, just to give you the idea of like, I don't know how you are in your project, but just keep in mind that like it takes energy just to try to go on having your own project and your own structure. So it's like energy, it's lots of energy that is like actually not going to somewhere at one point, but in the end you will like understand that in the end, yes, actually, because sometimes you have like you are meeting someone like I have met people like 7 years ago that I'm now working with, and this is my gray material. I named that like the matière grise in French. Anyway, and so we decided to what we did also because Julie she studied in Switzerland. So at the beginning we were like, okay, we need money. So we also we founded actually different association in different countries. With the same name actually, and we were trying we were applied really like to everything. We're just reviewing with Julie like while preparing this small talk to everything. But just to give you, yeah, it was more about like, okay, it how to say that, I don't know, it's like taking risk in a way. It's all about that. It's like yeah, taking risk, um but how could I say that? I don't want to lose you. Taking risk is a good thing, but also Anastasia said it like kind of this smile. I mean, what we learn in a way is that being gentle was like a real asset, like really. Uh, so for us, we started like really meeting people in like different countries and like through different events. So yeah, that's really important. So we participated like in all events. We're like, okay, we need to be seen, you know, even if we were like really young and like less than a year of existence with the company. We just decided, we make the choice, like we made like a strategic choice to say, okay, we're going to be everywhere, we're going to attend every meeting. So of course it was also a choice of like, because within the balance of like being artist and like creating artistic works, we decided actually to put more effort in like showing us in a way, just like to enter into kind of a bubble before actually producing work. Because we experienced that we try to produce the first work, like artistic work, like a real like a performance, like a theater show. And at this point we're like, okay, but it's not going anywhere because we don't have like any we don't get any fund and everything. So first we said, okay, but we're going to be seen, we're going to be visible, and like we're going to work on the visibility. And this is what we did. And then we make like those like strategic choices and like a big list of, okay, what do we want to do, what do we want to do really, like artistically speaking, what are our dreams? That's always like starting from the dreams. And then we also see that in this, because we arrive like we have like like Arteconomy today, it's like definitely not only a theater company, as you can see. It's but we develop those different paths actually, and everything that we developed, we said, okay, but how those dreams, so I don't know, like the dream to do like an artistic work, but also we love to support people. We're like, okay, we see that when we are meeting people, as we also both of us like studied a master in like production of cultural events, when we were like also with other theater company, we were able to like give them like pieces of advice and everything. So at one point we're like, okay, but maybe we can turn that also into kind of a business, like for the ecosystem of alter egoics. So and then also, and this is also what happened with this advocacy part, because we were like, okay, but then I studied much more like cultural policies on the European level, and then I was like into this world of European networks, and I was already in this bubble, so I was trying to yeah, again, to be recognized enough in order just to at one point being called, you know, to like participate in projects. And this is what happens in a way. It really happens. So at one point we get invited in like in the first European project, because like someone, we did like one work in Serbia, just talk about our work with like another Italian partner, and we entered the European like cooperation project bubble like that actually, because but we had like only we didn't do that much at the moment, but we just again took the time to use the existing resources, all the grants that was also made for traveling, for instance, to meet people, to meet partners. And then again, it was about a lot about humans, human being, who you are and what do you represent and what do you want to, and of course, your vision of us, we do like only socially engaged work, only socially engaged work. So we always ask yourself, are we always like good and in line with our values or not? That's always on our track. But yeah, I think the most that's I won't like I don't want to waste too much time also because I'm much more also into the question, and I know there are also like questions behind, and me like please feel free to ask me some question. But um what what can I advise is take your time. don't go don't rush yourself in a way, because we also did many mistakes, and that maybe that could be like actually a good idea, like some good questions, like well, what mistakes we did, but we did a lot. So take your time, a good time to reflect. It's always better to work as a team. So I'm always saying to myself, I wouldn't have been able to create this company if I had been alone in a way. And it's really, I think, us what help us the most are the people. At one point, you're gonna meet people that will understand you. That's what happened to us at one point, because I think at the beginning when we created this theater company, but also like was blending with other stuff, we were like, but people, again, it's really strict in France. So if you work in theater, you only work in theater. And us, we were like, but I mean, we like theater because I think that's what we studied, but we were also interested in cinema, in documentaries, in like electronic music. I don't know. So we were, and they were a bit like afraid of that. And at some point, we made like some really encounters in our life that trust us again, and as I already said that, and it changed something, because for sure there are people on this earth that are sharing your mindset. I'm sure 100% of that. And uh and so never give up, and try just to find those people, because and trying, I mean, to find them, it's like really kind of an effort also. Like, so I don't know, like if you want you're interested in the work of some like I don't know, a cross-sectoral approach of an cross-sectoral artistic approach, go to networks of those to networks of those kind of organizations, try to meet people, send email, call them. I want to meet you. What are you doing? Or it again take this energy. I mean, putting the energy in like building your strategy before coming and saying, look what I'm doing, I'm a great artist, is the best way. Because I mean, preparing in advance will make the difference, like really, because people that are inspiring and are like wonderful artists, there are many. But what can make the difference, again, like according to me, and just in the situation of Alter Ego X wearing a hat and everything. Anyway, I'm looking nothing anyway. Um, um, this is really what helped us to be prepared in a way. Yeah. So I don't know, Ruba, shall I speak more, or do you want to share also like insight with like people here? Again, I would love to answer to question. I think that could be great. I don't want just to be too long in a way.
Yeah.
So
Thank you very much, Theo, for sharing your career path and actually a reflection, a retrospective on how you started with strong motivation and passion, and how you immediately understood that in order to achieve your dream, you should actually take your time to reframe your strategy, understand whom are the people you would like to work with, and
your
above all,
ecosystem, yeah.
to exactly establish your own team around you. And this enabled you to develop three value streams, let's say, which are your artistic creations, the training, and advocacy. So in a way, you are playing the role of the mediator between the sector and the entire ecosystem. I would like now to open the floor to questions, if any.
There is Christian.
Yes, please, Christian.
Okay, hello. I would like to thank you, all of you. So my name is Christian Nost, and I'm the former dean of ISHEC. I work with Ruba. We co-founded C-Ship actually, but the fact that I found that webinar really inspiring because there was a common thread there about speaking about, you know, how could you do a classification or typologies between the economy, the society, arts, culture, and so on? And there is always overlap about that. And I really found Koen's explanation about art-based cross-innovation really inspiring, because I think there is no end, there is no first, there is no second, everything. There is no profit or non-profit also that really matters today. And as a cultural economist, I've always wondered about that and about to find these different roles and position which are different. Theo very much explained how his position is difficult to find, and one foot here, one foot there, and to find these connections between all of this. So I think that the discussion will go on, and I want to make here to take the floor, but maybe I have a question about that to Koen. There was a conference lastly a few weeks ago at KU Leuven from Justin O'Connor, who wrote "A Culture is Not an Industry." I don't know if there is a book, a very inspiring book also, and we speak about cultural industries almost, about like doing innovations, but going also to cultural products also. I would like to have your vision about that, Koen, about cultural industries. What does that mean? Where do you see the link with everything we said today?
Well, first of all, thank you for the kind words about all of us. Then, obviously, this is a very pertinent question, but a very multidimensional question, huh? So I'm not sure what direction my response should go into, but at least, well, obviously, and I think that's something that I recognize also from Anastasia's contribution and from Theo's contribution, that there's sometimes well, let's call it a lack of understanding or too little understanding of the true nature of, let's say, and then I would say the arts field, yeah, because and in extension to the full cultural industry, culture and creative industries, but this is still a big spectrum. Also, let's say a graphic designer and an advertising company is part of the cultural industries, and they have a much easier way to find links with let's say clients and suppliers, because they have a very applied offering. But the further you move into the spectrum of conceptual design, arts, and so on, the more, and there I subscribe to Anastasia's word, and I had written it down before she mentioned it. I don't think I mentioned it in my talk, in my contribution, but it's open-ended, and that's the difficulty, that what artists sell is guaranteed impact, but we cannot predict how and where and when. And that's something that is very uncommon and very difficult to deal with. So for me, I think, well, that's an important element. And then also, if you look at the cultural field as an industry, I think also there, without going to too much detail, because also I'm not the expert about that, but I think also the parameters through which we evaluate the arts as an economical contributor are not appropriate always, because also the arts has its traditional economy of art sales and investment and so on and so on, but that's not what we're talking about. And I think a lot of the time we lack the parameters to really value the for me the fundamental impact that the arts can have, and that is something that a lot of the time is heavily overlooked. So I hope that more or less is a hint towards answering your question, but I think would take us too far, and I'm not the expert to go more in depth, I think, on in this context. Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, no, because speaking about parameters and indicators, in basic economies, taking the GNP is also something that that doesn't work anymore. So there is also this reflection here about how can we measure that? How can we measure the impact on society, on the community, on the quality of life, and that sort of things.
Yeah, that's it. And I think just on a very generic level, I think it's not just the arts, but also education, healthcare, all of these kind of like people taking care of the elderly just in their home context and so on, staying home, take care of the children and so on. These are all things that heavily contribute to our well-being, but this is not being measured. I think we have a too narrow definition on what we call welfare, and it's too much focused on our material, let's say, development and welfare, and ignoring all of these important aspects. And that touches upon that aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Theo, you would like to
Yeah, no,
contribute?
just to add, because the thing is, it's very interesting, because the thing is that this this concept of care, actually, of like making people have like being happier, having like a better living condition and everything, was never like counted in like the economy. Like when economy was created, like during the Enlightenment, it was something just like related to product, but like all the thing that was like related to care, actually. So I don't know, like the private sphere, the family, it was definitely not part of that. So of course with arts now we have like, it's difficult, like Christian, you're using like to measure, but we cannot measure it in a way, like not in a way like that's economy is seen today, and also as like the political leaders are leading their country as a factory. But when it's definitely not possible to do it like with the arts and culture area. So this, I think, this is why we are also in this moment, like big momentum of something is not understanding each other and like crashing. Yes, Koen, please.
Yeah, and I think also it's a bit of a cliche maybe, but very actual, well, very relevant now again, is that sometimes policymakers have difficulty appreciating the value of culture. That's at least also what we tend to feel. But then when you look at autocratic or dictatorial systems, the first thing they do is control culture. So if you want to have like an implicit value of culture, well, look at that. Why should it be controlled if it has no value? So that's a bit of a cliche, but anyhow, a very good metaphor, I think.
Thank you very much, Christian, for your question, and Koen and Theo for your reactions. I don't know if Anastasia would like to add anything. Actually, currently at the European level, there are Horizon Europe projects that are studying the impacts of the cultural sector in terms of health and well-being, and also in terms of behavioral change. So some things are slightly moving, but definitely we're not there yet.
If I really get going on this topic, there will be no stopping me for about 3 hours, but I will try to keep it concise. I think if we are talking about Europe and the EU specifically, we do have a bureaucratization problem that also touches very much the culture sector. Another anecdote is recently an MEP was somebody from the culture sector was asking them, so KPIs, all of the KPIs that we're expected to provide, could you elaborate on that? And then somebody from the parliament was like, no, but you're artists. You shouldn't worry about KPIs. You should have a free life and, create. And then everybody silently, I think, thought that what do we eat? Where do we sleep? How do you know? And this is us being able to work with KPIs is really the only way we are able to make ends meet, or we just enter the very commercial art sector that is also very much a bubble. It's a different bubble, but it's not really free either, I would say. So measuring, I also saw a tender recently by EIT Creativity and Culture, and they were looking for someone to do a proper framework for really assessing the impact of the arts, which I think is a brilliant initiative, and I'm hoping it's going to give us something to work with. But I think also there is a necessary reluctance on behalf of the culture sector to also try and work with other sectors. I have been in settings where artists tell me that all business is evil. So it's a dance, and both sides need to learn the steps in order for us to move forward together. And I think moving forward together is going to be a much more fruitful path.
Thank you very much, Anastasia. And you make me think of a conference I attended actually last week, which was about reporting on sustainability in the cultural sector. And the expert was explaining that the first step was to be aware of what cultural institution is doing internally, and then make oneself relevant by communicating concretely on these efforts and practices to just not only demonstrate and show accountability, but also to have a seat on the table. So it goes actually both ways, as you were rightly explaining. I'm wondering if there are other questions in relation to the intermediaries' role, whether towards business or maybe also towards policymakers. Because Anastasia, you keep going back to this very highly relevant topic of raising awareness also of policy as well. So I wonder if there are any other questions in this regards, or if you, the three of you, would like just to give a concluding remark in terms of how do you see the role of intermediaries in the future?
Well, I'm maybe happy to share a final thought from my side. I'm going to share my screen again, and it taps into what has been said, I think, by Anastasia and by Théo, is that when you're in the cultural world and you enter, as I call it, through the wormhole into that other universe, then you will find people that not necessarily understand where you're coming from and how you operate. I've been there myself, so I plead guilty. It took me, I think, more than 5 years to understand what artistic research is. And I came from a world of scientific research. So I started with that idea in mind. So it took me a lot to unlearn and understand what artistic research is. Now, the good news is that so it can be done because I completely changed. I think I now have quite an understanding of how the art world works and the dynamics. Still a lot of to learn anyhow, but the good news is it can be done. And the image that I shared is one of the participants in our improbable art thinking workshop. This is a member of the Dutch police, and this is halfway through the 3-day workshop, and he looks completely, let's say, lost, looking at a seemingly random set of objects on the table. So this is unlearning. And what we get a lot from people is that at the end they say, okay, this has been transformative. I now have a much better understanding of how artists think and operate and the processes they go through. So hopefully this is then our tiny contribution that we do to this sector, is that hopefully that the people that come out of our workshops are a little bit massaged into this world and more open-minded towards whatever passionate and motivated artist that would enter into dialogue with them, and hopefully gradually we can change this world that also Anastasia and Theo have been describing that they end up with. So that's maybe on a positive note my final contribution.
Thank you, Koen. Who would like to go next? Anastasia?
Yes, let's do it in the same order as we were speaking, maybe. Final remarks. And how do I see intermediaries continuing? We live in very uncertain times as it is. So it is, I think, a futile pursuit to try and imagine what it's going to be in a certain number of years, because I think the world is going to be completely different in even 7, 5, 7, 10 years. It's going to be a whole different planet. But I would like this brave new world that is coming to really value scientists, artists, engineers, and people who can contribute something with a different kind of thinking that is not accessible to all. If that happens, or hopefully when that happens, this means that we are, as a society, stepping away from idolizing money as the end goal, and we kind of look to it more as a resource, and we do respect thought and human creativity above just maximizing profit at all costs.
Thank you, Anastasia. Theo?
Yeah, thank you, Anastasia. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, yesterday I had like a conversation with a friend of mine and was saying, but I mean, he was explaining this short story of like one of his cousins, really rich, like going always on vacation, and then blah blah blah, big house, like wonderful family. And at one point he came to this like cousin, so the friend of mine, and he said, "Well, I'm not sure I'm happy." And we're saying, yeah, because it's just also what the society is, I mean, how the society is giving us kind of a like vision of what the happiness is. But again, it seems a bit like a cliche, but try to fulfill the dreams is just amazing. I mean, I'm feeling I'm at the moment to give you an example, I think I had like I had a dream when I was a child. It was just to create a TV show concept and to be on TV and to create one. And actually, I did it. It took me some time, and now I'm shooting like the first big episode in the week, and I'm so happy with that. And I'm like, and I'm fulfilled. I achieved a dream, and it's really important. So that was that would be maybe this last word. Oh, and just something I forgot to mention in terms of resources and what we're doing also in those intermediaries. We're using a lot the program, the Erasmus Young Entrepreneurs Program, actually. So we are a host organization, and we are keen on hosting like people from the business world, actually. And how it's always good because it's joining you, what you were saying also, that I mean, they don't in the beginning it takes time to understand what is like artistic research, or what is for us alter egoics. For them, they are in the beginning they don't really understand, and then when we are spending time together, we also see how we can have like close cooperation thing, and like and at some moment they will think, oh, but actually you're an entrepreneur, you know. Some of people like say that we also hosted, like, and they said, oh, but what are you doing? You're an entrepreneur because like you're meeting people, thinking about strategies, doing your accountancy, and they're like, yeah, sure. It's like, so, you know, it's also sometimes again, but during real encounter, real meetings, so hosting someone during 6 months is a good way also, because never forget that behind anyone there's also a human being able to understand, even if it's people that not working in your area. So because sometimes also we doing kind of this mistake, I think, in our own bubble, that is like also like a polarization within the cultural world, and we think that we are the best and do the best and blah blah blah. But please do make these mistakes of also like leaving people behind in a way that of other sectors, like everyone is precious, is valuable. I mean, except Trump, of course, but yeah. No, not everyone, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the three of you. Actually, I can share your last 4 takeaways, which like future intermediaries should keep in mind to allow people to unlearn, to value different ways of thinking, to allow people to fulfill their dreams while humanizing creativity. So this is actually, we came to the end of this year's series of webinars. I would like to thank you, our 3 bright speakers. Would like to thank all of you who attended the webinar and those who will be watching it, and thank our partner, the Creative Pact for Skills. Last but not least, I would like to thank my colleague Karen, who took care of all organizational matters. You will receive a follow-up email asking you to evaluate this webinar and propose future topics, so please do. And if you wish to rewatch the webinar, the recording will be available next week on eShek's YouTube channel and CSHIP's LinkedIn page. Thank you very much and goodbye.